Babylon. The very name evokes a sensory explosion in the modern mind. It is not merely a geographic location on an ancient map, nor simply a parable plucked from the dusty pages of the Bible. Babylon was the ultimate manifestation of human ambition, the original metropolis where wealth, power, and intellect coalesced into a civilization so magnificent that it forced the entire ancient world to bow in reverence. Born on the fertile banks of the Euphrates, Babylon grew from a modest settlement into the beating heart of Mesopotamia. It was a city that transcended the simple definition of a capital. It was the center of the world, a place where the concept of wealth was redefined, not just as the accumulation of gold, but as the mastery of architecture, law, commerce, and the stars themselves. To understand the opulence of Babylon, one must first understand its geography. The city did not stumble upon riches, it was engineered to dominate. Situated on the flat alluvial plains where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers draw near to one another, Babylon controlled the most fertile soil in the known world. The Euphrates was not just a river, it was the main artery of a colossal living organism. It brought the silt that allowed farmers to grow wheat and barley in quantities that were the envy of neighboring tribes. But more importantly, the river brought the world to Babylon's doorstep. It was the superhighway of antiquity. As the city expanded, it transformed into the supreme knot of international trade. It became the inevitable meeting point where the East met the West. In the bustling markets of Babylon, the air was thick with the scent of spices from India and frankincense from Arabia. Merchants spoke a dozen tongues, haggling over cedar timber floated down from the forests of Lebanon, copper from Cyprus, gold mined in the mountains of Anatolia, and lapis lazuli carried across the dangerous Iranian plateau. In this era, Babylon was not merely a consumer of goods, it was the guarantor of value. The city's granaries were full, its warehouses bursting. Wealth was not hidden in vaults, it pulsed through the streets, visible in the silks worn by the merchant class and the exotic food served at their tables. At its zenith, particularly under the reign of the legendary King Nebuchadnezzar II, Babylon was less a city and more a statement of divine power. Nebuchadnezzar did not just want to rule his subjects, he wanted to overwhelm their senses. He embarked on a construction program that remains one of the most ambitious in human history. The city was encased in walls of such immense thickness that, according to the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, a 4-horse chariot could turn around on the top of the ramparts. These were not just fortifications, they were psychological weapons. They told any approaching army or traveler that Babylon was impenetrable, a world within a world, safe from the chaos outside. The crowning jewel of this architectural dominance was the Ishtar Gate. It was not merely an entrance, it was a procession of awe. Constructed of bricks glazed in a deep, mesmerizing lapis lazuli blue, the gate shimmered under the Mesopotamian sun like a mirage of water and sky. Adorned with 575 bas-reliefs of dragons, sirrush, and young bulls, aurochs molded in gold and ochre, the gate served a dual purpose. Aesthetically, it was a masterpiece of color and form. Political, it was a terrifying warning. You are entering the domain of Marduk, and the power of Babylon is as fierce as the dragon and as unyielding as the bull. Passing through this gate, one entered the processional way, a road paved with stone slabs that led to the heart of the city, the Etemenanki Ziggurat, often associated with the Tower of Babel. In Babylon, beauty was never accidental. It was a calculated declaration of superiority. However, the wealth of Babylon was best illustrated not by what they built for war, but what they built for love. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world whose existence remains unverified by archaeology, stands as the ultimate symbol of Babylonian capability. Legend dictates that Nebuchadnezzar II constructed this marvel to soothe the homesickness of his wife, Amytis of Media, who longed for the green hills and forests of her homeland while living in the flat, sun-baked plains of Mesopotamia. To build a mountain in a desert is a feat of money. To make it bloom is a feat of genius. The gardens were described as an ascending series of tiered terraces, creating a man-made mountain of lush vegetation. Trees, shrubs, and vines cascaded over the walls, creating a paradise that defied the arid climate. The true wealth here was not the plants, but the water. Using a complex system of screws, pumps, and canals, engineering far ahead of its time, Babylonian engineers lifted the waters of the Euphrates into the sky. Whether the gardens were real or a poetic exaggeration of the Greeks, the story highlights a fundamental truth about Babylon. They possessed the resources and the audacity to bend nature to their will. It was the ultimate luxury, to create an artificial ecosystem simply for the pleasure of a queen. A city of such immense material wealth requires a backbone of steel to prevent it from collapsing into anarchy. Babylon gave the world its first true realization that prosperity relies on the rule of law. Centuries before Nebuchadnezzar, King Hammurabi established a legacy that would ensure the city's stability for a millennium. The Code of Hammurabi was not hidden in a scroll for the elite. It was carved onto a massive stele of black basalt and placed in public view. It operated on the brutal but clear principle of lex talionis, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. While modern sensibilities might view these laws as harsh, in the ancient world, they were revolutionary. They established that justice was not the arbitrary whim of a local warlord, but a codified system. The laws covered trade contracts, family rights, property disputes, and wages. If a builder builds a house for someone and does not construct it properly, and the house which he built falls in and kills its owner, then that builder shall be put to death. This legal framework was the invisible infrastructure of Babylon's wealth. It created trust. A merchant from a foreign land knew that if he traded in Babylon, there were laws to protect his contract. A farmer knew his land rights were recorded. By proving that a wealthy society could only function through strict order, Babylon laid the foundation for the concept of the rule of law that governs modern civilization. If gold was the body of Babylon and the Euphrates was its blood, then knowledge was its soul. The wealth of the city extended far beyond the treasury. In the shadow of the ziggurats, priests and scholars turned their eyes upward, transforming Babylon into the scientific capital of antiquity. Babylonian astronomy was not merely superstition, it was a rigorous discipline of observation and mathematics. They catalogued the movement of the stars and planets with astonishing accuracy, keeping records that spanned centuries. They developed the sexagesimal, base 60 system of mathematics, a legacy we still use every time we look at a clock, 60 minutes in an hour, or measure a circle, 360 degrees. In the quiet libraries of the temples, scribes pressed cuneiform onto clay tablets, preserving literature, history, and economic transactions. They were the bridge between mythology and reason. While they sought omens in the sky, they used the data to create calendars that optimized agriculture. Babylon proved that the most enduring wealth is not what you mine from the ground, but what you cultivate in the mind. Yet history teaches us that the brightest flame casts the darkest shadow. The immense wealth of Babylon eventually became the architect of its demise. To the outside world, the city was a beacon of envy. To the Hebrew prophets and later religious texts, it became a symbol of decadence, sin, and hubris. Babylon became drunk on its own power. The luxury led to complacency, and the impregnable walls bred a false sense of security. The Bible speaks of the whore of Babylon, painting the city as the seat of earthly immorality, a place where humanity tried to elevate itself above God. The end came not with a bang, but with a strategic dismantling. When the Persian king Cyrus the Great arrived in 539 BC, he did not smash the walls, he outsmarted them. Legends say he diverted the Euphrates River, lowering the water level so his troops could march under the gates along the riverbed. The city that believed itself untouchable fell in a single night, allegedly while the nobility was feasting, oblivious to their doom. Babylon was eventually abandoned, its mud brick palaces melting back into the earth, its location lost to the shifting sands until modern archaeologists unearthed its bones. The hanging gardens have vanished without a trace, the gold has long been looted, the bustling markets are silent. However, Babylon remains the wealthiest city in history, not because of the gold it once held, but because of the inheritance it left behind. Every time we sign a contract, we echo Hammurabi. Every time we check the time, we use Babylonian math. Every time we marvel at a skyscraper, we are channeling the spirit of those who built the Tower of Babel. Babylon stands as a timeless lesson for humanity. It is a testament to the heights of human creativity and the depths of human arrogance. It reminds us that while we can build paradises on earth, carve our laws into stone, and map the infinite stars, all material glory is ephemeral. Babylon is no longer a place on a map. It is a ghost that haunts the human imagination, a glittering memory of the time when we first dared to dream of being gods.